All right, thanks everybody for joining us. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker for today, Randy Holt. He's the Risk Assessment Supervisor at the Washington State Department of Health. Randy brings a wealth of experience to his role with over 20 years in the IT field. As a U.S. Army veteran, he has honed his skills in critical thinking and problem solving, which are invaluable in the world of cybersecurity. For the past decade, Randy has been a dedicated state employee applying his expertise to protect our state's vital health information systems. In today's presentation, Randy will be sharing his insights on 10 ways to protect your home network. With the increased number of connected devices in our homes, from computers and smartphones to smart appliances, this topic is more relevant than ever. All right. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Randy Holt to the stage or to present. Take it away, Randy.
Carlos. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Rhonda. And thank you, everybody, for joining. 10 ways to best protect your home network. Next slide. So as you know, Carlos already said, with all the devices connected today in our home network, our rings, our Alexa, everything else, door locks, fire alarms, it's mostly important to have these devices connected to a single internet access. Homeowners need to make sure that that their home Wi-Fi is secure, is up for sniff and is up to snuff. And while these may seem intimidating to do your own, you don't have to be a tech expert to safeguard your network. Next slide. So these are one things you can do: changing your default name and password on your home network. There's many different ways you can do that, as most ISPs have a password and username and password on that home network. You can change the SSID, which is the Service Central Identifier password, and change that to something of a passphrase or unique for that device. Don't use the obvious personal information such as your name, your birthday during this process, because it will leave you vulnerable for attack. Next slide. Limit your access to your wireless network. This may seem obvious, but avoid giving people you don't know access to your home network. The more people who have access to your wireless network credentials, the higher risk of your data falling into the wrong hands. Next slide. Create a home guest network. Instead of giving out your wireless credentials to anyone who needs them, let them connect to a Wi-Fi network. This network is separate from your standard network, and it hides all the share folders, printers, storage devices, and other network connected to your primary wireless devices. Most wireless routers have this feature, which you can access via the device settings when you're setting up your guest network. Create a separate guest SDSID and the guest Wi-Fi password to give people. Turn on your Wi-Fi network encryption. So most routers today come with the WPA2 or WPA3 encryption. You can turn this feature on in your router Wi-Fi settings, which you can access through your IP address of the router login credentials. When you enable encryption in the Wi-Fi network, it encrypts any data sent between your wireless channels and your devices. This will prevent anyone from eavesdropping on your Wi-Fi network without logging into your Wi-Fi network. Just remember that you'll need to do this manually, reconnecting all your devices to your wireless systems after you enable this feature. Next slide. Turn on your router firewall. So most ISPs have a firewall built in. They're preloaded with this excellent hardware to build for firewall-based options. A good firewall helps protect unwanted traffic from entering or leaving your wireless network without your knowledge. Router firewalls are often turned off by default, which means you need to activate yours. To do so, log into your router settings, use your IP address, and enable this option. You may need to look under the router advanced settings to find the firewall toggle. Using your router firewall may slow down your internet speeds, A workaround is you can turn your firewall off when you're gaming or performing other tasks that requires a faster connection. Once you're done, just turn it back on. Next slide. Turn off your Wi-Fi network when you're leaving home. It may be too much of a hassle to turn off your Wi-Fi network every time you leave or you walk out the door. But it's important to disable your home wireless system if you leave for extended periods of time, such as vacation or such. This will guarantee that your network is completely safe. It may be a hassle, but please heed this, because when you don't want to come back to a home and you notice that all your information has changed. Next slide. Update your router's firmware. Your firmware router is the incredibly important piece of secure network connection puzzle. Most wireless routers don't auto-update their software, so you must do this manually. To update this router software, visit the manufacturer's website and download the firmware update file, and install it directly to your wireless router. Every router manufacturer has a slightly different process, so you will look for the instructions on how to do this on their website. Next slide. Switch to WPA3 routers. The WPS, the Wi-Fi Protection Setup, or WPA3 routers, were first released in 2018. They come with more robust security protocols to address many of the vulnerabilities found in the WPA2 routers. If you rent your router from your ISP, chances are they may be a WPA device. In that case, you will have to purchase a separate WPA3 router. While this may be an unplanned expense, a WPA3 router will enhance your home security network. It will also likely increase the strength of your Wi-Fi signal as well. Next slide. Disable remote access. So most routers have remote access feature that can allow you to access your Wi-Fi router from anywhere you have internet connection. This may be a convenient way of managing your wireless network system from another location, but it may also lead to network security issues. Potential for hackers only increases if you haven't changed the which means anyone could access your wireless password and result your network. Unless you absolutely must use the remote feature, it's best to turn it off. It's simple, easy to do for hackers to potentially gain your legitimate credentials to access your wireless network and to disable this feature. Look for the remote access setting in your router interface. Next slide. Place your router in the middle of your home. Most Wi-Fi signals are strong enough that someone outside of your home could see the connection on their device. To prevent this, you can simply move the router to a more centralized location in your home. This is easy, a non-technical step to prevent unwanted access from someone sitting in a vehicle across the street from your home. As a bonus, it provides basic internet access to all areas of your home. If you can't move your router to a centralized area because of your home layout, to at least move your wireless router away from the windows. Windows does not block Wi-Fi signals, and depending on the strength, it is possible someone could access your network from outside your property. Next slide. These are bonus ones. Mitigate email threat. Phishing email continues to be one of the most common initial attack vectors employed for malware delivery and credential harvesting. Attacking the human element consider the weakness component of every network. Continues to be extremely effective. To infect the system, the attacker must simply have to be persuaded to use a user to click on a link and open the attachment. The best defense against these attacks is become educated and cautious user and familiarize yourself with the most common elements of a phishing attack. Next slide. Bonus number 2, use a VPN. There are a few reasons to use a good VPN, and network security is one of them. The virtual private network hides your IP address and Wi-Fi activity, including browsing data. VPNs are most useful when connected to a public network, but these can still add a level of security and privacy to your home network. Some VPNs are better than others, but like anything, you often get what you pay for. Free VPN services are available, but if you pay a few extra dollars a month for one, you'll get much more secure service. Other perks of using a VPN that it can be great also for streaming and online gaming. Next slide. So wrapping up, the final thoughts is, in most cases, the ease it is for you to access your home network, the ease it is for a stranger to do the same. Try and to get comfortable experimenting, troubleshooting, customizing your network settings, and stay on top of software updates and new firmware releases as best you can. Every step that's taken adds another layer of protection between you and unwanted guests, keeping your valuable information safe and private as it should be. Thank you.
Okay, Randy, we've got a few questions in the Q&A feature here. Jen asks, when creating the firewall and encrypting the network, is there anything you can do for those who game online, such as Destiny 2?
So encrypting the firewall. So the firewall protects the ingoing, outgoing. You would have to turn the firewall off for the gaming process there. That is another aspect that we can look into. I game as well, and I do turn my firewall off when I'm gaming because of the speed gets diminished also. But look at your internet service provider and see what your speed is for your internet access, and turn your VPN. You can test it. Turn your VPN on, game, and you can see what your kilobytes per second are, and you can check it from there and see how fast it up and down traffic goes.
Okay, and Kevin says, for number 6, what about security devices you have connected to your Wi-Fi network? You need your router working in order for those devices to work.
So security devices, Kevin, can you come off mute and please explain?
Yeah, I'm talking about like, cameras, security cameras, or other devices, mainly cameras. But anything that needs to connect and needs a Wi-Fi connection, you mentioned turning off your Wi-Fi network if you leave. The problem is those won't work if you leave, right? And so the whole idea is to have those cameras working. Is there a specific setup that works better to separate those?
There is, and go ahead, Carlos. Go ahead, Carlos. I'll let you go ahead. Yeah.
You're probably going to answer the same way. Use that guest network. Turn off your main one for your personal stuff and leave the guest network and put your cameras on the guest network.
Yep, exactly. Yes, because it keeps it separate, yet you can still see your information. Also, naming conventions on your router. You can see what's named on your router. If something doesn't look like you know what it is, then it shouldn't be there.
We have our heater on ours, on our Wi-Fi now.
Yep. I have my heater, my Ring, pretty much everything, my TVs, and I can actually access them. And there's been a few times I've had things that I did recognize them. I had to do a MAC address find what it was, because some Linux devices they're not named by the naming convention. They're just says Linux or it says nothing. So there's a difference in that if you have Linux devices connected to your network. Yeah.
Okay, and then Leanna says, number 9, if you disable your remote access, that disables your ability to see your Ring camera. Oh, okay, here's a repeat. So we already covered that. And just so you know, I did open the chat as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Dwayne, VPN. How do we address the issue of security software flagging our accounts for impossible travel because of VPN use?
So flagging your device, your state issued device. Dwayne, if you can come off mute and explain that.
Sure, I can, excuse me, I can try and add some context to that. So
Yeah.
this happens a lot with Microsoft 365 accounts, especially, and especially in the education industry. Microsoft flags your account for impossible travel when it sees that IP address. Oh, well, you logged in here from Bothell, but then 30 minutes later, you logged in from Texas because you're using a VPN. And it's
Correct.
always VPN users. Their flags are always, excuse me, their accounts are always getting flagged for impossible travel. And at medium risk, it's not so much of an issue, but when there are a couple of things that happen in conjunction with impossible travel, then it starts locking accounts down. And impossible travel is just a huge issue because of VPN use right now. And it's just adding that one more thing to get accounts blocked and flagged.
Right, that one more layer, and totally understand it. Here at DOH, we have out of state travel requests, which we go into our enterprise and let enterprise system and let the tech ops, they actually put that in a separate group so it can be put off and it won't be flagged for that out of state travel, blockage there. So that has been one of the things that we have accomplished on this end as far as the VPN access and establishing that. So that might be something that we can speak on later if you like. You can email me and we can talk about how we did it in the enterprise level and it might be able to trickle down.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then Alex asks, do you recommend hiding your SSID?
Alex, wonderful question. Yes, I do. But I also, as a CEH, I also like to have a honeypot. And I like people to try to get in. So I like to test people and see where they're at. And yes, I do hide my SSID, but then I have another one that sits outside of my full network that people can try to attack, but they get nothing. It's an empty zone. So yes, I do. Thank you for that question. That's a wonderful question.
Yeah, Chris adds to it that make a hidden Wi-Fi SSID for the cameras, turn all the other SSIDs off when you leave for vacation.
Yep.
I'll add that hiding your SSID makes it difficult to quickly join for your, if you're adding a new device, you have to remember to turn it back on because some IoT devices don't allow you to spell out the SSID. It's only going to be scanning and letting you pick from a list. So it's a convenience thing. As I put in my message, it's security by obfuscation. It's not the best security, but if you're okay with that, then understand it. Go for it.
Yep. And Ian, honestly, I have a totally separate router for my smart devices.
That's
so
good.
There's an idea.
Yes. Yeah. So, excuse me. I have a Comcast business or Xfinity business, but I have a router for another aspect, and then I have another offshoot for my honeypot. So I'm running 3 different networks within my one network here at home.
Are we at the part where we brag about our network configuration?
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
It absolutely looks like it. Reading the chat.
I like that. I like it when, it's good to experiment. If you can't break it, break it, fix it. That's how we do it.
Yeah. Sorry. I use Eero as my mesh network for coverage, and then Firewalla is my filter router firewall. It has really good controls. It's all managed by your phone. To your point about firmware and all that, they push it and update it for me. I don't have to go out and get it. So it's constantly being updated. I get a notice on my phone that the firewall's been updated. So You can do that. You can roll your own. I'm seeing there Don uses FreeBSD.
Is that Mr. Don Souza who I know?
Looks like it.
How you doing? So he was one of my professors. So how you doing today, sir? I lost him.
Oh, he's shy.
Ah.
Well, Dwayne noted here as a, let's see, as a note for device needs, newer routers may have an IoT network opposed to a guest network.
Correct. Internet of all things. Yes. And that's another change that they are doing and recommending. So
And Frederico, he uses a Orbi for his wireless mesh and Fortinet for his firewall.
nice.
Yeah. And Carlos uses OpenSense or pfSense are good firewalls for geeky crowd. All right. Well, I think that's, oh, here's one more.
My honeypot sits on the router. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I do have several honeypots. I do have a pineapple as well. That is trouble in a nutshell. Carlos, you know what a pineapple is, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a few.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shh,
gonna-
don't give everybody the secrets away. Shh.
Yeah.
I was going to add, if you're in the geeky crowd and like tinkering, another great one for Raspberry Pis is the Pi-hole. It's a good DNS sync for ads, and I've seen it speed up networks when it, a lot of bad stuff. So I run a makerspace here in Olympia. If you're nearby the headquarters or here in the capital, Oli Mega. We occasionally throw a workshop where we help people build those. You buy a Raspberry Pi and an SD card, and we'll help you put the software on it. You add it to your network, and it just set and forget it. You can track what it blocks and traffic on your network. It's not exactly a firewall, but it's a nice little add-on.
Yes.
Okay, and then Andrew says Xfinity offers 3 security settings for the firewall on their routers: minimal, medium, and max. Which security setting do you recommend?
Yeah. I keep it medium because coming in from Xfinity, they're supposed to be blocking, but then inside my network, I have it set differently, and I can block everything that's coming in that it doesn't recognize. So trusting it's all on you. You can tinker with it. You can see how slow or how fast you get for your service, but their max sometimes is not as maximum as a security professional or other people. So there we go. Because I want to know everything I want to know everything that's going on in my network. So go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, I think it depends on your use case. It's a balancing act of security versus convenient. I don't know Xfinity. I use the Firewalla, but I put it all like strict because I rather have a page not load than have a potential ad or something bad. So it all depends on your appetite for risks there.
Right.